everybody. A very pleasant day to you, wherever you might be. Here we are once again with Ramon Scott, and I'm Steve Dolan here on Dolan's Dugout. Well, Ramon, Grossmont High School, East County, Joe Musgrove. First no-hitter San Diego Padres history. It took into their 53rd season. It took over 8,500 games. But our own East County hero, Joe Musgrove of Grossmont High School. Your thoughts on that?
I tell you what, I don't want to say the famous phrase I think that now everyone knows. Meant to be, right, Steve? Meant to be. We waited. Who was going to get it all? The close calls throughout the years. The curse of Clay Kirby is over, and it couldn't be more fitting. It's not a one-hit wonder either, Steve. We've seen Joe's career right now at a pinnacle, really, if you consider his leadership, his experience, a World Series pitcher, brought over to this championship contending club. The end of the season he had last year with the Bucks, it just seemed like he was getting better and better. This wasn't just about bringing a kid home to pitch in his hometown. This was about for the moment pursuing a world championship, and good things happen when you're doing things like that and with a great ball club. And it all came together in that game against the Rangers on Friday night. You always have that feeling with the Padres close calls, Steve, the pins and needles, but you always had it in the back of your mind. But Musgrove was so on his game and making such good work. Even when the pitch count started to become a little bit of a factor, he got two quick one-pitch outs in the seventh inning. And even the hard-liners, one in the eighth, one in the ninth, your heart skipped a beat for a moment. But off the bat, I don't know, we've been watching baseball too long, and I'm sure a lot of people who watch as much or watching as long as we have, it felt like it was at the fielder, and it was just a matter of if it was the fielder was in the right position. Talk about the line drive to second, the line drive to right field. Once those two outs came and the way Joe was pitching, it just felt like those last outs were going to come, and it was going to happen. And, oh, yeah, I'm tearing up again just thinking about it. Chills.
Well, Ramon, you're right, absolutely, because at the end of the eighth inning, the last out, line drive to Will Myers in right field, beginning of the bottom of the ninth, line drive to second baseman, to Cronenworth at second base. I mean, here's the thing, Ramon. I was actually blessed Friday night. I'm working for Bally Sports San Diego doing their statistics. So we're at Petco Park because, remember, the radio and TV are not traveling. So right in front of me, I've got Don Orsillo calling the game. Two doors down, I've got Jesse Agler on the radio calling the game. And oh my gosh, when there was that third out in the ninth inning and Musgrove had the first no-hitter in Padres history, to hear Don in front of us and Jesse two doors down, it sounded like there was a big crowd at Petco Park, even though there were only 10 of us in the press box. And it was just unbelievable because Joe Musgrove, coming over from Pittsburgh, one thing people forget, Joe's last 16 innings last year, he did not allow a run. Joe's first 15 innings this year, he hasn't allowed a run. My best math tells me he hasn't allowed a run in 31 innings. Who knows when that streak ends? I mean, when Joe came over, he was at best considered maybe the Padres' number 4 starter because you've got Yu Darvish, you've got Blake Snell, you got Dinelson Lamet coming back. If Joe Musgrove's your number 4 starter or even your number 3 starter, how good are you? I mean, this is just unbelievable, Ramon, too. The fact that, you covered Joe in high school for EastCountySports.com, and the fact that we got a local man pitching the first no-hitter in the history of the San Diego Padres, a team that's had, Kevin Brown for a year, Jake Peavy for many years, Chris Young, you had Clay Kirby's 8-inning no-hitter where they took him out. Jack Baldwin gave up a couple runs and a couple hits in the ninth inning. Just unbelievable. I mean, you're one, I know you're very good at odds, and to me the odds had to be thousands to 1 that the first no-hitter in San Diego Padres history would belong to Joe Musgrove.
Well, you look at his career trajectory to end up here in this situation, and I just love it. Steve, they put that mural up. It's just been completed at Grossmont High School, and those three words, they're going to be immortalized when you think about the no-hitter and Joe, meant to be. And of course, everyone wanted to talk about East County, Grossmont High. Steve, Joe went to a Foothiller game already this season to see those Foothillers. They're red hot, one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the county, but that's what they're going to say, man. Meant to be. And we want to embrace it as our own out here, but it's for all of San Diego, and Joe knows that too. I just have a feeling, I'd love to talk to Joe and see. We've seen interviews, but how his mind really worked and kind of getting to the situation he's in from Pittsburgh. I mean, you just don't. Yes, maybe there was Padres interest there. You think you're going to get a player who's kind of approaching the pinnacle. I say the pinnacle of his career. I mean, how great he's pitching, but just in his age and everything, he was going to be at his best point in his career as the Padres acquire him. So you kind of wonder backstage, if you will, backscene, if he's saying, hey, I'd really like to go to San Diego. If you guys could, if it ever worked out, that would be an ideal situation for me. And then you have to wonder in the back of his mind, when he got that deal done, if he said, wouldn't it be something? Because Joe's had great stuff. You mentioned how strong he was at the end of the season. Boy, if I could be that guy to one day throw a no-hitter. And that's what raced through everybody's mind when the pitch count got up there. And there was even talk on Twitter. I don't know what these people were thinking. I guess because we've been through it before. Are they going to pull him out? There was no way that ball was coming out of Joe's hands unless his arm was falling off. Chase Tingler knew it too.
Well, Ramon, Joe threw 112 pitches. People will wonder, well, why was Tim Hill up in the 7th inning, or why did they get other relievers up in the 8th and 9th? Reason being, if Joe gave up a hit, he was coming out of the game right away. That was a no-brainer. But I want to tell you something. People talk about unusual things in baseball. No-hitters, perfect games, immaculate innings where pitchers on 9 pitches strike out the side. I want to tell you something that's even the most unusual thing in baseball that I can think of. Joe Musgrove was a hit batter away from a perfect game. He hit Joey Gallo with 2 outs in the 4th inning. And other than that, he was perfect. Well, let's ask a question here. How many pitchers since modern day baseball in 1900 have been a hit batter away from a perfect game? Joe Musgrove is the 5th. I'm going to read you the list, and this is according to Elias. Okay. 1908, I don't know if you've ever heard of Hooks Wiltse, but he did it for the New York Giants. 1960, Lou Burdett, a name I've heard of, did it for the Milwaukee Braves. 1997, a name you've heard of very well, Kevin Brown, the year before he came to the San Diego Padres, did it for the Florida Marlins. 2015, Max Scherzer was a hit batter away for a perfect game for Washington against the Pittsburgh Pirates, who the Padres play this week. So again, when you talk about baseball history, Joe Musgrove did something. He's only the 5th pitcher in over 100 years to come within a hit batter of a perfect game. Way to go, Joe.
Hey, Steve, I wonder if Hooks had a good curveball. If he did, I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure it wasn't as good as Joe's on Friday night. Now, we know that Joe's got a great weapon in his curveball, but everyone was raving on Twitter about the movement of the ball on that night. Joe's pitched so much in the state of Texas, and yes, the atmosphere is different. There's even been some talk about this new Rangers Park. Not in this situation, maybe, right? Joe was dominating, but maybe that the runs are going to come down a little bit in this new park. But the movement on his curveball was just so spectacular in that game. I really want to know if Joe felt that he was throwing it with a little bit more bite in the atmosphere in that stadium that made it look, also it's a new ballpark, so maybe the camera angle is something that maybe we're not used to. It was just a little bit off center, I think. You probably know it better than anybody. But, man, it just seemed like it was coming in, especially on left-handed hitters where they really weren't able to get a grip whether or not that was going to cut the corner or not. And, man, he just was utilizing that pitch to perfection. He was just perfection all around.
He sure was, Ramon. I thought there were a couple things. I mean, in baseball, as you know, superstition's a big deal. A couple of things with Joe. Number one, like you said, from the fifth inning on, he had to go pee, but he didn't because of what was going on. Another thing, too, the superstition is when a guy's pitching that well, you leave him alone. And what was interesting to see him the last three innings in the dugout, how Joe was down at the end by himself. Nobody said a word to him. And what was kind of ironic, in the top of the ninth inning, the Padres had a long inning at bat, and you're just at a point where, come on, let's get out there, let's get out there, let's get out there. I mean, you're not supposed to go out 1, 2, 3 on 3 pitches, but I think if that would have been the ideal thing to do. But then Joe went out there in the ninth inning. He only threw 9 pitches in the ninth inning. He was a 103 going into the ninth. And it was just amazing, Ramon, because what I thought was really cool to see were the number of Padre fans at the game in Texas. As you know, not to get into any controversy, we're not going to get into that controversy, but Texas is wide open. They have like 26,000 fans there that night, 35,000 on Saturday. So there was a big crowd and a big Padre crowd there. That's what I thought was amazing, because after the game, when Joe was interviewed on Valley Sports San Diego, of course, the interviewers were in San Diego. Joe was in Arlington, Texas, but there were about 100 Padre fans on top of the Padres dugout cheering Joe on. I just thought that was great, especially, coming live to you from Arlington, Texas.
Now, I don't have many friends, Steve, living here on the internet, but my timeline was pretty busy with some friends that were down at the games all weekend, and they had the moment of their lives. In fact, I wish I would have looked at my Facebook during the game, because a couple of them actually put on live, a live stream of them watching it, and I didn't catch it until looking at social media and all the incredible posts from friends and family. And I thought the Padres did an awesome job in the media department with those viral reactions. I filmed my own, but I'm almost embarrassed about my excitement. I mean, I was like a little kid, and I did turn on my camera, and maybe I'll show you privately. I don't know if I'll ever share it with my family and friends, because I was giddy with excitement, man. We all were, so I shouldn't be embarrassed about it. But to just be yelling and screaming, at my age over a no-hitter, when look, I mean, they're not a dime a dozen necessarily, but this one was special for us. And I'm kind of glad that the national media kind of brought that point across as well. I think it made it that much more special. It didn't hurt, certainly, that Joe was from San Diego. I think it helped accelerate the story a little bit nationally. But can't get over that mural. If anybody hasn't seen it, Steve, I think it's done now, but it's painted a huge mural out at Grossmont High, that moment that Joe delivered the winning out, grunting, screaming, his chain flying off, the excitement that we all felt. And that was commissioned by the Padres. And I'm sure that everyone that arrived on campus today, hopefully they're there, seeing that mural, and takes pride in his accomplishment, because I think that's going to be there for quite a long time.
Well, I'm sure it will be, Ramon. It's funny, Ramon, going back to what we were talking about earlier about baseball superstitions. I know going into the bottom of the seventh inning when Joe had the no-hitter going, I stepped out of our booth just for a second, and 2 booths down, Tony Gwynn Jr., who does radio for the Padres, stepped out of the booth, and normally we'll sit there and talk it all. We just looked at each other. We didn't know what to say. We weren't going to say, hey, how about that no-hitter? How about this or that? All I said to Tony was, how about those foothillers? Tony laughed. We both walked into our booths because, again, you just don't know how, even as somebody just watching the game, you don't know how to react or in that. But I could only imagine for Joe Musgrove what was going on inside, because, as you know, he didn't feel great that day. But sometimes you do your best when you're not feeling your best. And I mean, props to Joe, because no matter what, 53 years from now, if the Padres still just have Musgrove's no-hitter or however many more they have, people are still going to be talking about it. Look at Point Loma High School. I mean, 1956 World Series, Carl Larson, perfect game. David Wells, perfect game for the New York Yankees. What are the chances that a San Diego high school would have pitchers that pitch 2 perfect games for the New York Yankees? And now, again, Joe Musgrove, forever and ever, will be history in the San Diego Padres record book.
Yeah, but I bet you this, Steve, I don't know, thinking about Joe's mentality, I bet he might trade it all for another World Series championship brought here. The first one. What else haven't we done here, everybody in San Diego, that we could do this year? I mean, I could think of one thing, and we'll start to break it down now, Steve. The games, all the games against the Rangers, we did a great job in the series against the Pirates, but can't spend all our half hour on Joe. We could spend an hour on it, but we broke it down pretty good. And oh man, congratulations to us, the fans. Wow.
Oh yeah, well Ramon, I think you make a great point, because I think one thing about Joe's no-hitter Friday night, he pitched a complete game, which just doesn't happen nowadays. That saved the bullpen, because look at yesterday. Adrian Morejon pitched 2/3 of an inning before he strained his forearm. Look what happened after that. Craig Stammen came in 3 1/3 innings through 47 pitches, shut him down. After Stammen, you had Taylor Williams, you had Tim Hill, you had Austin Adams, you had Emilio Pagan, and then, of course, Mark Melancon to close it out. But what's interesting, Ramon, that's 6 relief pitchers out of the 9 in the bullpen. Ryan Weathers and Drew Pomerantz were not going to pitch yesterday because of their pitch counts before. Keone Kela was the only guy left in the bullpen, so luckily the Padres escaped 2-0 in that game, because, again, they were just about out of pitchers. And I mean, even tonight now, you got to figure Melancon's pitched 2 games in a row, and Emilio Pagan threw 30 pitches in 1 inning yesterday. So if you get to a safe situation against the Pirates, who's it going to be? I would say it's going to be Drew Pomerantz, and if not Pomerantz, it's going to be Keone Kela, which goes back to what we've talked about, how the Padres really have 4 closers on their team with Melancon, Pomerantz, Kela, and Pagan. So the depth, we've talked about the depth of this team. I mean, talking about their pitching, too, something. The Padres' ERA now, 1.87, best in the major leagues. Bullpen, 0.89, best in the major leagues. So certainly it starts with Joe Musgrove so far, but it goes down the entire staff. This pitching staff is just carrying the Padres, who are 7-3 right now, 1 game behind the Dodgers, who we're not going to get ahead of ourselves, because the Padres have 4 games in Pittsburgh this week. Dodgers are in this weekend in San Diego, Ramon.
So the Dodgers, I don't know if you really broke down the Cy Young candidates. I mean, we have a couple of guys who look pretty good, but they have 3 guys that are like right there at the top of the pitching ladder right now. I mean, we're an underdog big time to these guys for sure throughout the rest of the season. But Melancon's been maybe the best reliever in the majors so far, considering what's gone on. And yeah, what do you think the plan's going to be, Steve? How are we going to shore this up now? Can we get the starting pitching back on track? Can we, yeah, it does look like it's going to be a little bit of a bother for Morejon. I mean, we'll get more about his situation, but now with Darvish tonight, then Snell, then Joe, or maybe they're going to move Joe back. Maybe someone's going to come in. The injury situation's progressing a little bit. Where do we stand?
Well, we don't know for sure. I mean, like you say, Darvish definitely tonight, Blake Snell definitely tomorrow, which means Darvish Saturday, Snell Sunday against the Dodgers.
Okay.
But, Wednesday and Thursday, we really don't know. There would be Joe Musgrove on Wednesday. It would be Chris Paddock on Thursday. But with all that Joe went through on Friday night, will he pitch on regular rest on his 5th day on Wednesday? We don't know. At some point, Dinelson Lamet comes back. We don't know for sure after Darvish and Snell. But one thing I do know, talk about pitching, it's more than coincidence that the Padres and Dodgers save their best pitchers to pitch against each other, because the Dodgers are going to go with Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw, and Trevor Bauer on the weekend, and the Padres again with their top 2, at least their top 2 going into the season, with Darvish and Snell on Saturday, Sunday. Maybe Lamet comes back Friday night. Maybe he comes back in Pittsburgh. We don't know yet, because Jace Tingler, the Padres manager, even said yesterday they don't know beyond Snell and Darvish. If I could look at that Pittsburgh series real quick, the Pirates actually tonight, Monday night, they have Trevor Cahill, the Vista High alum. He pitches tonight against Darvish. Tuesday, they have Chad Kuhl, who was their opening day pitcher against Blake Snell. Wednesday, Tyler Anderson against the Padres TBA. Thursday, Mitch Keller against the Padres TBA. What's interesting, Ramon, of course, with a 3-hour time difference, just so people know, the games are 3:30 Monday through Wednesday. Have your breakfast Thursday watching the Padres, because Thursday morning's game starts at 9:30 our time. And yeah, the Padres will be on the air all 4 days. So, 9 o'clock pregame, 9:30 Thursday morning on Valley Sports San Diego. And of course, pregame at 3 o'clock the next 3 nights. So, again, being on the East Coast, as you know, the games start earlier. So, prepare.
Yeah. I call those early morning games the elementary school special, Steve. That's where we used to sneak the old transistor in there way ahead of our time with the wrap around that old earpiece that kind of looked like a suppository, right? Not like the modern technology of today. You just stuck it in there, and the teacher, you'd listen to the game, and they'd never know what was going on. So nowadays, you probably watch games on your phone. But anyway, Steve, so yeah, I agree. I think what the Padres are going to end up doing is just seeing how much they can get out of probably out of Snell. I mean, Darvish is working so hard on he's got Ks and his pitch count is a little bit concerning, but they've got to get some innings out of these guys. And I think that's why the Padres aren't necessarily, like you said, Musgrove. It'd be Musgrove and Paddock. Maybe they can get through the whole series and go with those four guys. That would leave the first game, I would think, a question mark, because Darvish, I would think, would be the man to pitch on Saturday. So I think they just have to see at this point how we know the pen's durable, but just how many innings we can get out of the starters and how many innings the relievers are actually working before they actually decide what's going to happen, I would think, starting on Wednesday against the Bucks.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, Ramon, because one of the things the Padres could do, Chris Paddock, maybe he pitches on a fourth day instead of a fifth day on Wednesday. He only threw 71 pitches Saturday night in Texas. And if you saw him on the bench, he was not happy when he was pulled out of the game that early. So maybe he comes back on a day less rest than normal, and then maybe Joe Musgrove throws the day game Thursday on a day more than rest after the no-hitter. Don't know. We'll see. And again, at some point this week, Dinelson Lamet, I believe, will start a game, whether it be in Pittsburgh or whether it be Friday night against the Dodgers. Note on Lamet, he's been pitching over Arizona at the alternate training site, so to speak, in Peoria, Arizona, where the Padres have their training. Lamet threw 56 pitches in his last outing, so maybe he's good for 70. I don't know. And 70 maybe gets you through 4 or 5, which anymore is about all pitchers go anyway. Because even like in yesterday's game, I know it was, when Adrian Morejon went 230, you thought, oh my. Craig Stammen got him through the fourth, and when you got it, Morejon probably would have got him through the because his normal has been he's never gone beyond that. So you don't know, but they're going to have to mix and match a lot with their pitching. And I mean, you got guys, Austin Adams came back over the weekend. You've still got Pierce Johnson over there, getting ready to come back too. You got Dan Altavilla getting ready to come back. So I think there's going to be a lot of mixing and matching because, again, nowadays you have 5 starters, 9 in the bullpen. And so I'm sure you'll be seeing different guys come in the bullpen. And what's Ramon, when you play in an American League park, if you have 9 guys in the bullpen, you only have 3 guys on the bench. One of the 3 is a catcher. So basically all weekend, the Padres bench was just Jorge Mateo, Tuciano Marcano, and a catcher. But then again, in the American League parks where there's a DH, you don't need a whole lot on the bench. So as I say, mixing and matching in the bullpen is going to be a big deal this week because, again, I'm sure there's going to be some tired arms. The Padres have played 3 games in a row. They've got 14 more in a row to go because they're on a stretch of 17 straight games right now.
Well, Lamet seems like the solution. Hopefully, what we're dealing with him short term is something where he had the discomfort. Hopefully, he doesn't need to. But you just wonder about his durability moving forward. But again, I mean, if he feels ready and we're ready to move forward with him, right now we're going to probably need those innings, however we can get them and how many ever there are. And for Morejon, I think that although we want him to contribute and he's part of the rotation to try to help the team and work his way into being a quality major league player, starter, reliever, whatever happens for him. I mean, obviously the expectations are high, but he's certainly a bit rushed along, I would say, in his career. So if there is any problem that can be addressed, hopefully it's nothing too major, but did not look very promising the way he came out of the game so early after recording just a couple of outs. Also on the injury front, Steve, I don't know. Looks like all systems are go when Tatis is ready for his return date. That's what the scuttlebutt says. I don't think we've heard anything, even speculation from the team, but a lot of the outside experts are saying he's ready to go. And, when those 10 days are up, and he'll probably try to give it a go. And, we talked about any reservations that he might have. But again, if he's worked through it before, maybe with the way the pandemic unfolded and the scheduling of the spring training. I mean, it was a full spring, so I guess no excuses there, but he'll just have to manage this situation, try to be as comfortable as he can and effective as he can. Look at the production we have. Maybe Kim has been a little bit shaky. I tried to talk him up a little bit defensively, but didn't look great on that one infield bounding ball error. But obviously with the bat, he's had some moments. So we don't want to sacrifice anything. We got a lot of quality major league players. If a player like even of Fernando Tatis's capabilities cannot produce at a high level.
Well, Ramon, one thing I will say about Kim is, remember, the last out of Musgrove's no-hitter was a ground ball to Kim. I thought it was amazing how smoothly he fielded that ball and threw the first, because at that point, everybody on the field's tied. I just thought it was a routine play, but I thought it was an outstanding play because, again, a lot of pressure on him there. And he moved to third base yesterday when Manny Machado DH, because we've talked so much about the Padres' depth, how you can move Kim around, how you can move Jurickson Profar around, how you can move Jake Cronenworth around, and how valuable that's been so far. It's just going to be really interesting this week, because I said going in I'd take a 5-2 road trip, winning 2 out of 3 in Texas and 3 out of 4 in Pittsburgh. But now that the Padres have swept the Rangers, you got to win 3 out of 4 in Pittsburgh, I would hope. But we'll see. We're going to be back Friday morning. And, of course, when we come back Friday morning, we're talking Dodgers. And with Tatis, if he's okay, he can come back for the Dodgers series. That's when it will be. But one thing you'll notice, when he takes batting practice now, both hands stay on the bat, because that's one of the ways he's been getting hurt is, swinging and letting one hand off the bat. So he's going to have to change his playing style. But we'll see if he comes back Friday against the Dodgers. That's something we can discuss later this week. But, again, big story. Joe Musgrove, Grossmont High, first no-hitter in Padre history. How better for him to show than that? You tell me.
Yeah. Well, just the fact that it's kind of neat that he's going back to Pittsburgh. He's going to see a lot of friends. You mentioned that I believe some of his family's going back there as well. So they probably have some relationships. You think of the relationship with Stephen Brault and there. So I'm sure it's a reunion of sorts for him and the Pirates organization. He knows so many people there. So I'm sure everyone is so happy for him getting that. And it's just going to be a lot of smiles. He's a guy that makes a lot of friends. He's a very popular guy on the teams that he's been on. And no doubt for our ball club, he's a leader.
Absolutely. And you mentioned his family. I know I was in touch with his sister Tara yesterday. His sister Tara and her mother are both back in Pittsburgh now to see Joe, to see the Padres, to see people they know in Pittsburgh because Joe was there for so long. But anyway, Ramon, we'll see how it goes this week. I want to thank you so much for being with me this morning. And come Friday, hopefully we'll be talking about another series win for the Padres. And certainly we'll be talking about the Padres-Dodgers series, crucial 3-game series this coming weekend in Petco Park. But before that, 4 games in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's playing well. Don't sleep on them a little bit. Got to get these 3 games, but the Bucks have played maybe a little bit above expectations so far.
Well, Ramon, thanks so much for being with us this morning. I look forward to seeing you Friday morning at 11 when we're back here on Facebook Live with Dolan's Dugout. And wish everybody out there a very pleasant day.
Go Pods.
Yes, sir.